So history can be hard to sort out sometimes. It's written by human beings after all, and our own personal biases can get in the way of how certain figures are portrayed. This translates into how historical events are taught and interpreted. Were you taught any of the things on this list in school? Let us know down in the comments. I'm your host James, and these are the top 10 dark lies from history you were taught in school. And we're starting off the list with a myth about the Titanic. Myth might be the wrong word, it's more of a misunderstanding. Basically what we were taught to believe is that the ship hit an iceberg, the majority of it being concealed under the water. It was much larger than they thought, and it caused a significant damage, leading to the sinking of the ship. Now, this part is actually true, of course, but the iceberg may not have been the sole cause of the tragedy. Recent investigations have suggested that a fire on board may have played a major role in weakening the structure of the ship beforehand. There was apparently a coal bunker fire which had been burning in one of the ship's coal storage rooms for several days, and this might have compromised the Titanic's structural integrity. Fire, it was not uncommon at the time because of the spontaneous combustion of coal dust in the bunker, and the prolonged exposure to high temperatures could have weakened the bulkhead of the ship, making it more vulnerable to the impact of the iceberg. Basically, the fire might have accelerated the sinking process. If you are enjoying our channel so far, then please let us know down in the comments, hit the subscribe button, share, do all the things. Really helps us out. And at number 9, we have witches being burnt at the stake during the Salem witch trials and other witch fiascos going on across America at the time. Now, while those who were believed to be witches were tried unfairly and sentenced to death, they were actually hanged, not burnt alive. I think the visual of, an unfairly accused woman burning to death on a stake is just a more sensational visual than someone just hanging from a rope. Burning alive just plays better in movies and artwork. And aside from the visual, it would also be a far more horrific way to die. It's not like being burnt at the stake came out of nowhere, though. There are instances of it happening, just not in the United States. Accused witches in France were often burnt, and during the witch hysteria in the United States, townspeople would burn the bodies of the accused witches after they had been hanged in order to make sure they were gone for good. Didn't want like a Michael Myers situation happening, I guess. Next up, we have the War of the Worlds broadcast. This was always a story I thought was so fascinating and just kind of nuts. I believe this till fairly recently, actually, and I kind of feel bad about bursting everyone's bubble here. So the story goes that in 1938, Orson Welles made his famous War of the Worlds radio play, and when it was broadcast across America, people thought it was so realistic sounding. They'd never heard anything like it before, and people actually started to panic, thinking aliens were really attacking the Earth. In reality, things weren't actually this out of hand. I imagine some people were pretty shook, but for the most part, it just wasn't the case. CBS Radio made several disclaimers throughout, reassuring listeners that the broadcast was fictional. So where did this mass hysteria story come from? Well, newspapers at the time did actually report that people panicked, but they knew what they were doing. They were playing it up in an attempt to discredit the radio. Look how untrustworthy the radio is. It caused mass hysteria for no reason. Newspapers were worried back then that the radio was going to completely take over and they'd be out of jobs. Kind of nuts that that didn't actually happen until the early 2000s when the internet started becoming more commonplace. And at number 7, we have the first Thanksgiving. This probably shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone, but this was not exactly the harmonious, peaceful breaking of bread that many history books played it out to be. The first Thanksgiving occurred in 1621 between English pilgrims who had recently arrived on the Mayflower and the Wampanoag Native Americans in Plymouth, Massachusetts. In the fall of 1621, the pilgrims celebrated their successful harvest with a feast. Chief Massasoit of the Wampanoag and around 90 of his men joined the pilgrims, but this event was not an act of friendship, but more of a political alliance. The Wampanoag had their own motivations for assisting the Pilgrims. Earlier, a devastating epidemic brought over by English settlers, likely smallpox, had decimated their population. And with their numbers reduced, they sought alliances with the English colonists to bolster their own security against rival tribes. During the feast, they provided most of the food, deer, fish, and other game. The Pilgrims contributed some of their own harvest, mostly vegetables. The event was more about diplomacy and survival than a harmonious gathering, and the relationship between the Pilgrims and the Native Americans quickly deteriorated in the years following that first Thanksgiving. More English settlers arrived who didn't care at all about any former alliance, and the Pilgrim population grew, taking over completely, and often viewing the Native Americans as godless and wild, and tensions escalated over land and resources. Basically, the standard story is often romanticized. And at number 6, we have humans evolving from apes. So the idea that humans evolved directly from apes is a misconception. Humans and modern apes, like chimps and gorillas, share a common ancestor that lived approximately, 5-7 million years ago. This common ancestor was not identical to modern apes or humans, but possessed traits that we both kind of pulled from. And over millions of years, the evolutionary paths of humans and apes diverged, split off somewhere. So we both evolved separately, adapting to different environments, gaining our own unique physical and behavioral traits. Around 4 to 2 million years ago, the earliest human ancestors, known as Australopithecus, appeared in Africa. They walked upright on 2 legs, something that set them apart from other primates. Eventually, Homo sapiens came about, anatomically similar to us modern humans, who emerged in Africa and gradually migrated out of Africa, eventually populating the entire world. And at number 5, we have a Christopher Columbus myth that he apparently discovered and proved that the Earth is round. Now, I'm just gonna stop this right now. The insane comments, I know I'm gonna get one. I'm gonna get one. Oh no, Earth is actually flat. It is flat. All right, listen, just save it. I don't want to hear it. I will save you the time. Fine, I am an idiotic, blind sheep for believing that the Earth being round is just a lie perpetrated by the New World Order, who are for some reason hiding the fact that the Earth is actually flat. To what end? I don't know. Anyway, in some school curriculums, at least back in the day, the story is that Europeans all thought the Earth was flat and that Columbus sailed out in order to prove everyone wrong, or that he made the discovery that it actually isn't. Everyone knew at the time the Earth was flat, long before Columbus's time, so yeah. Next up, we have Napoleon's height. Napoleon Bonaparte, a prominent military and political leader, rose to prominence during the French Revolution and played a big role in shaping the course of European history in the late 18th and early 19th centuries. In 1804, Napoleon declared himself Emperor of the French, establishing the First French Empire. His military campaigns expanded French dominion over much of Europe. He was the top dog for a long time, with successful battle after successful battle, becoming known as Napoleon the Great. But apparently, the dude was really short. At least that's what many of us have been led to believe. The myth is so widespread that there's a term for insecure short people who try to distract people from their lack of height by being extra boisterous or in your face. They apparently have a Napoleon complex. Well, Napoleon wasn't that short, at least not for the time. He was approximately 5'6", which was slightly above average for a Frenchman of his time. I'm 5'6.5", so I would have been a grade A stud back then. Number 3, lightning never strikes the same place twice. This is a lie, it absolutely can. And not just to buildings, but people too, so be careful. It is incredibly rare, but a United States park ranger in Virginia named Roy Sullivan had quite the life. He was plagued by lightning strikes, this poor man. Between 1942 and 1977, he was struck by lightning 7 times, earning him the nickname the Human Lightning Rod. So there you go. Next up, we have Christopher Columbus discovering America. I doubt that this is presented in schools now the same way it was back in the day. Even when I was in school, I learned that this was not the case. Might be different here in Canada than in the States though, and I'm sure state to state the curriculum is different. But the story goes that Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492, discovering a whole new world. The truth though is that it's not as clear cut, aside from the fact, of course, that the Native Americans were already living there. That part is obvious. But even in terms of Europeans setting foot in North America, it's different than I'm sure many kids were taught in school back in the day. In reality, when Columbus made his journey, he didn't actually land in what we now know as the United States. Instead, he arrived in the Bahamas and later explored various Caribbean islands and parts of Central and South America. So while Columbus did stumble upon previously unknown lands, from a European perspective anyway, he never set foot on the shores of North America. And long before Columbus packed his bags, there was another adventurer on the scene, Leif Erikson, a Viking explorer from Iceland. Around the year 1000 AD, Erikson and his crew sailed across the Atlantic and reached a place he called Vinland, which is believed to be Newfoundland, Canada. So when it comes to Europeans setting foot in North America, Erikson beat Columbus to the punch by about 500 years. And finally, we have the story that Abe Lincoln was an entirely righteous and heroic figure. I'm not trying to downplay all the good that he did. He deserves the praise. But his motives didn't stem purely from a sense of justice. He became president in 1861. He assumed office during a critical period in American history as the nation was on the brink of civil war over issues like slavery and states' rights. One of Lincoln's most notable achievements was his role in preserving the Union during the American Civil War. His leadership during this conflict, which resulted in the abolition of slavery, is often highlighted as a defining moment in his legacy, which absolutely fair, but he's often portrayed as this righteous hero in the education system, which is an oversimplification. While he played a major role in the abolition of slavery, his views on race and equality weren't so cut and dry. Lincoln's main goal during the Civil War was to preserve the Union. His motivation was mostly political and aimed at keeping border states loyal to the Union. Lincoln was quoted as saying even, "If I could save the Union without freeing any slave, I would do it. And if I could save it by freeing all the slaves, I would do it. And if I could save it by freeing some and leaving others alone, I would also do that." So there you have it, guys. Were you taught this stuff in school? How accurate was it? Let us know in the comments. And with all that said, I've been your host, James, and I'll catch you, yes, you specifically, in the next video.